Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Premier Injury World Cup Roundup. This is the first look at injuries ahead of Qatar. Before we kick things off, I'd just like to say that we will have a brand new updated World Cup injury table going live very soon. If not Wednesday, fingers crossed, we'll have that live for Thursday, and that will have a breakdown of all 32 nations competing in Qatar and players who are flagged as injury doubts, and also those players who failed to make those 26-man squads. Now, you're going to have to bear with me on this format because some of these names, some of these countries are a little bit new to me. So for this one, we're going to be covering just some of the main talking points ahead of those opening games in Group 1. And then as we go along, the format may be tweaked. However, if you do have any questions, any queries, any recommendations, or any specific updates that you want to know, please pop them in the comments box below. And of course, you can always contact me through our socials on Twitter at Dinnery. So let's give this a crack and see how we get on. Right, we'll start with England first. And obviously there were concerns when James Maddison went off at the weekend for Leicester. Thankfully, those initial concerns were played down post-match, both by his teammates, Danny Ward, and also by the manager, Brendan Rodgers. It came to light that James Maddison had actually been struggling with a knee problem heading into that match. He hadn't trained a great deal. His load was eased back. And after taking a corner, they removed him as a precautionary measure. Now, he has had a scan. Like I say, nothing to worry about in concerns of he has travelled with the England squad, had that scan, that came back all clear. So nothing to worry about with regards to that. Now, South Korea, and we'll stick with those players involved in the Premier League for now. We've seen Heung, the Tottenham forward, back on the training pitches with his international teammates wearing a protective face mask. Great news with regards to that. However, also speaking with regards to his involvement out in Qatar, Heung said he couldn't guarantee when he would actually be cleared to return to play. He said he wasn't a doctor, he would do his best, but also he did suggest that there was an element of risk being involved in those games out there. So it remains to be seen. But thankfully, he is out there on the training pitches. I suggest at this point, it won't be full contact. So one to watch. Also, Wolves attacker Heung, he was absent from the squad at the weekend. Now, that was reported as a tight hamstring. Again, more of a precautionary measure, given the close proximity of the tournament. Nothing too serious. He is involved with the squad, so he has travelled there. For the Swiss, Granit Xhaka went off early doors on the Saturday evening kickoff at Molineux. And that was due to a sickness bug that had been going around the Arsenal camp. In the build-up to that game, there were 4 or 5 players who were suffering from that problem. Xhaka dusted himself down. He did start, but midway through that first half, couldn't continue any longer. But again, nothing too serious. He is part of that Swiss squad. He has met up with him, so nothing to worry about there. For Japan, Brighton and Hove Albion, Karu Mitoma was out of the Seagulls matchday squad. Again, he was one of several absentees this weekend due to illness. Again, that was a little bit of a fever. Also affected teammate Webster, and that's why he wasn't in, but no problems, no long-term issues there. Across to the Portugal squad, and Cristiano Ronaldo, he's been grabbing headlines in recent days, maybe for the wrong reasons, following that interview with Piers Morgan. Now, he has missed the last 3 Manchester United games through illness, according to Erik ten Hag, but he was seen in the Portuguese changing room with the rest of his squad members. Didn't appear to be any issues there with regards to that. But of course, following on from an interview, that didn't put him in very good light. And we know that there's a little bit of conflict between the manager and the player at United. So maybe, he's played his last game for Manchester United. Teammate Anthony, he's got a hip flexor problem. That's nothing too serious, although it's a little bit more severe than initially thought. Erik ten Hag thought that it would just be a 2 to 3 day turnaround. That hasn't been the case, and he hasn't played a game since picking up that problem. But again, it's nothing that would threaten his participation out in Qatar. That's a day-by-day assessment, so very, very close to a potential return. For Chelsea, they came up to St James's Park on Saturday evening, and Spanish international Cesar Azpilacueta, he went off at half-time. Now, Graham Potter confirmed that it was a calf issue. It wasn't too serious. Suffice to say, but he wasn't able to continue with that. Again, reports from his homeland indicate, again, it was more of a precautionary measure, and there's nothing to worry about on that front. For Serbia, Alexander Mitrovic, he's missed the last few games with that foot problem that he actually picked up on international duty. I think it was during the last international break. Injured his foot in that first game and then exacerbated the problem against Norway. Now, he did play a couple of games since that break, one of those being at St. James's Park, against Newcastle, former employers. It was down at Craven Cottage. He only lasted around about that 28-minute mark. Subsequent assessments and evaluations reveal, according to reports from Serbia, that he actually has 2 broken bones in his foot. But national team coach Dragan Stojkovic is fairly confident that Mitrovic will be okay for the tournament. We know he's a bit of a warrior. We know he's going to put everything on the line. So the chances are, if he does feature, then he's not likely to be 100%. And this is one for Fulham supporters to watch, because they don't want that striker to suffer a severe setback. But of course, like I say, I would be very, very, very surprised if Mitrovic didn't play a prominent role for the Serbians out in Qatar. For France, we've had a couple of major setbacks in recent days. First one was Ibrahima Konate missed out for Liverpool. Thankfully, Jurgen Klopp played down that injury. Doesn't look to be anything severe. He reported after the win over Southampton that the expectation would probably be 5 to 6 days before he's back into full training. So that's just a minor knock. But the French were rocked by a late injury to Christophe Nkunku. The Chelsea target picked up a left knee injury at Clairefontaine on Tuesday. That's the equivalent of the English St. George's. So that's a national training centre. Clashed with his teammate and picked up a heavy knock to that knee. Now, he was sent for scans. They've revealed a sprain, and he has been replaced by Randell Muani. So he's out of that French national team after the injury in the final session. There were also concerns over Ballon d'Or winner Karim Benzema. He took part in the opening 10-15 minutes of the session on Tuesday, but was then taken away by the physio. Now, again, that was a precautionary measure. Benzema said, he could have continued if he had have wanted to, but he wouldn't have been 100%. It was more just a precautionary, just protecting himself ahead of the tournament. He went and done some work in the gym, stretched that off, and was absolutely fine. So nothing to worry about there. For Senegal, the big talking point heading into this tournament is the fitness of Sadio Mané. He picked up that injury playing for Bayern Munich. That was at the head of the tibia, potentially that patella tendon. Now, again, question marks over his availability remain. There's been a representative from the Senegal Football Federation said Sadio Mané is certainly going to be out of those first games. Now, he wasn't able to give a definitive time frame, but that could be a suggestion that he's out. Maybe, the group games, the first and second, maybe against Netherlands in Qatar, and hopefully back for that third group qualifying game against Ecuador, but it remains to be seen. Again, no guarantees with this one. And finally, Denzel Dumfries, the Dutch fullback who came to prominence, certainly in fantasy terms, for Euro 2020, made a big splash. Worries on the weekend when he was forced off playing for Inter Milan. That was an injury to his knee. However, he has trained with his international teammates on Tuesday, and when asked, would he be fit and would he be okay for the opener? He downplayed everything and he said, yeah, no worries there. So Denzel Dumfries, absolutely fine. That's it for now. Like I say, if you have any suggestions, any specific updates that you'd like me to offer, pop them in the comments box below. Keep your eyes and ears peeled with regards to social media updates and that World Cup injury table, which will be going live very soon at www.premierinjuries.com. And we saw you all again very soon.